actually deserve it more than I do. They work on the car tirelessly, and all I do is show up on Saturday and turn it left. So I mean, it's all about the team. I'm more appreciative of the guys that work on the car. Greg Farrar, John Lamb's been with me since day one.
There's always a beginning. I mean, did you know Dick before racing?
No. The original guys with the Sportsman had a guy driving their car, the original builders of the cars, and the guy that they had was going on vacation and they needed somebody to drive, and Dick had driven for a while and then retired from racing cars, and so they asked him if he'd fill in for a couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks turned into 35 years. He originally started on his own with his uncle, Rod Baerton. He drove his car in heat races and kind of got used to driving the thing at quite a young age, and then eventually his uncle helped him build a car, so he had his own Sportsman. And I didn't know him at that point in time, but then when the guys built some cars, and again had a different driver, so when they asked Dick to drive, that's the first time I met him. So I was involved clear back into the mid to late 70s building Sportsman cars that didn't have anything to do with late models. Time it was John Lilly, Del Seekins, and Gary Zepka were the original builder owners of these cars. And those cars back then were, you went to the junkyard and got a front end off whatever was popular to race, and the back end off of something else, and literally built your own car. And later on, Gary left and John Lilly left. I think I've been trying to figure it out. They asked me if I was in charge of the late models the whole time, and I really wasn't. John Lilly was the crew chief at the beginning, and I think he probably either quit at the end of '86 or '87, and then I took over. Basically, make sure everything's ready, and you know you're gonna not go there and have something fall off the car to start with, and then when you get there, there's always a different track condition than what you expected. You know, the guy might soup it up for the evening, or forget to water it, or not have enough money to water it, or whatever in modern times. So you could go from extremes in track condition, from slippery as this tabletop, to like going out in the pasture and pulling your shoes off. So there's a difference between the setup that has to be in the car, and it's a constant moving target, and so you have to take your best guess what the track is going to be like at towards the end of the race, because that's when you want to be your best.
You have the final say?
Yes, that's how the whole thing started out. I mean, we were always surrounded by good guys. I mean, I had 2 full-time tire guys, 2 setup guys, a super driver, Randy, covered all the other bases, and so we had lots of input going on. So at some point you need a tiebreaker. You can't have 6 opinions going into the feature and throw it all together and wait for pot luck. So at some point you need a tiebreaker, or somebody to say, okay, I've heard all the arguments, this is it, this is what we're going to do. So, right or wrong. Nielsen's?
Yeah.
They were, certainly the biggest investor. I mean, in the old days we'd go out and get our sponsors, and a lot of times some of the sponsors we got, it cost more to put their decal on the car than what we got, but it was still, because you had some names on the car, you might attract another one. So Nielsen's were by far the best thing that ever happened to us. I mean, I think I said in the interview that we would race at Lernerville on Friday night. We would leave Jamestown, I got off work early. We would leave at 3 o'clock, and anybody that could get in the car hauler would do it, take off work early. And we'd get there and race till, we could be the last feature that raced at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then it's another 3.5 hour drive back home. So I mean, it was literally daylight when we'd get home. And that was the only car we owned, and we'd turn it around, and regardless of what happened to it, and race it at State Line. Turn it around again and take it to Erie, and we literally raced 3 nights a week for years with one car. Connecting with the Nielsen's, now all of a sudden the second car shows up, and these state-of-the-art engines. I mean, he was a dyed-in-the-wool Ford fan, so he was just obsessed with making a Ford engine win dirt races, which nobody was doing. So he ultimately at one point had a engine builder in Meadville, another one in Erie, and another one in California. This guy that literally cast these aluminum blocks for Ford. And it was a standing joke in the garage that we needed Velcro on our motor mounts, because we would race an engine 1 or 2 races, blow it up, take it out, put the next one in. And so he had 3 different motor builders doing research and development and trying to get these things going. Struggled, and then finally Brad Malcutt out in Ohio, he somehow contacted him, and he started doing our motors. And after that, I don't think we ever blew one off. We broke a crankshaft leading the race, or down at Challenger once, but other than that, we never split the sides out of any of those motors. So they're just, that's when we really got going.
Any odor interference?
No, oh my God, the exact opposite. I mean, we were so spoiled rotten that, I mean, absolute no hands-on. He didn't want any part, didn't understand the setups, didn't care, didn't want any part of it. He just wanted a team that could go out there and make them proud, I guess. I mean, the first race he ever went to, we decided to go to Hagerstown, Maryland, and we went down there and won the damn race. And he was standing on the front straightaway chewing on a cigar, and I saw a tear come down the side of his face. He says, I've spent, I can't tell you how much money, and never won a heat race. And he says, now you guys bring me to Maryland, and we won the first race we were in. So he was genuinely glad he picked us. Out of the blue, John Kennedy got us going there for a year or so, and finally the lackeys are what really pushed us over the top. They gave us great equipment and great help. And
tell me about the last couple laps.
The last couple laps, I felt the whole race we could win the race just by how we were able to pressure the guy. I mean, we were under him. He needed the cushion.
This is Chris Hackett, right?
Yes. He needed the cushion, or was best on the cushion. We didn't need it. We were able to roll underneath him, but just not quite enough momentum to finish him off. But still applying pressure. Of course, now we got Robbie Blair underneath us applying pressure. So I thought the whole race we could win it, but on the other hand, I've been in enough races to know that 3 of them in that close a proximity could have turned into a 3-car holocaust with 1 to go, or in the last corner, and the guy in 4th place would drive across for the win. So I mean, it was not over until he crossed that line. So I mean, and then. Just adrenaline and everything else going for Chris there. I mean, he got him. If you look at even the picture on the invitation, it shows Chris, instead of a 45-degree angle to the track, is 90 degrees. So he's trying to recover from that while we were able to roll underneath. So it wasn't over until it was over. If you said a month sooner that we were going to win the last 2 races at State Line and tie and surpass Bobby Snares' record, I would have said I doubt it. We won a World Outlaw race at State Line. That was a big deal. I mean, they had all the guys that race for a living that rolled into the track, which customarily one of their guys would win. Everything unraveled just right, as it did for 79 and 80 both. I mean, I said, here we go. We got 2/3 of it. Keep going. Keep digging. So when it all ended, came out our way. Dick, I'm telling you, the last 6 races he was in, drove like he was 30 years old. I mean, I just was in a state of shock at how sharp and crisp he was. Other than the obvious, I mean, it's done, and we've done everything that we set out to do. And
While you've got an opportunity,
Greg, you didn't film that, did you? No. We're saying cheese. Honest to God.
We don't care.